Gosh, I'm on fire right now. I gotta mellow out a little bit. I just made a video for the Rumble channel. Obviously it's a little topic sensitive, and that I feel that the video I made for the Rumble channel needs to be heard as much as possible, so I will put that link possibly in the bottom of this video description, and I will also put it on the community page. I would hope to urge many of you to watch that video, alright? And if you don't have access to the Rumble channel, I'll give you a quick rendition of what I am proposing, what I'm talking about, and that's the fact that our government here in Canada today is intentionally financially annihilating any and all first responders, military personnel, police officers, firefighters, nurses, doctors, and many more are intentionally financially annihilating those people and their families for not submitting to a mandatory medical procedure on their body. Alright? There's other ways to solve this. It's not solving this problem does not come from annihilating your own people. It does not, and it's very irresponsible. It's a very irresponsible move. It has me so angry, I'm having trouble sleeping over it. And what I propose in the Rumble channel, the Rumble video, is I propose that we trace it back and we find the individual who originally came up with that idea, that irresponsible idea, and we find out who they are, what they look like, what their name is, and we expose them and we go after them with all we have and make them very uncomfortable until it gets turned around. Because we do not annihilate our people. We do not do that here in this country or other countries today. We don't do that. Who does shit like that? I don't know, ISIS, the Taliban? That's who does that. We don't do that. There's no excuse acceptable to financially annihilate our first responders, our military personnel, our medical professionals. There's no excuse. There's no acceptable excuse to do that to our people. So we need to trace it back, and that's what that Rumble channel video basically is about. All right, and I am going to stand up and fight, and I am going to make a difference. All right, I gotta go on. I'm on fire. Now, another thing I can do for other people today is I can allow their voices to be heard. And that's what I'm going to do as well today. Then I'm going to go home and I am going to turn it around for our people. The wee folk ain't always so wee is the title of this email. Hey Steve, love your channel. Sorry to hear about Mr. Mac. Here's some of my thoughts and experiences on the world of weird, as it were. First, some info about myself. This is pertinent to the subject. I'll try to be quick. Me, New Yorker, raised as a Long Island suburban kid. A little dude, 5'3", didn't top 110 pounds till after the 10th grade. This sets you up to be messed with a lot. Screw those assholes. I spent my time in the large wooded areas that border my home all seasons. It's all good though, because I learned a lot of woodcraft over the years. I can pass by like a ghost if I have to. I backpacked, solo hiked, stealth camped, and urban explored my way through many places in the pine barrens and moraines of Long Island's East End, up through the Catskills into the Adirondacks. From Savannah, Georgia to the Berks Falls area of Ontario. As a young kid, whenever I got weirded out in a place or situation, my dad, a U.S. Navy Beach Battalion veteran who landed at Normandy in Okinawa in WW2, taught me to observe and analyze before jumping to conclusions. I don't go running off to the forests in a panic unless some serious alarm bells start going off. In this way, I've been able to laugh off certain incidents as my own optical illusions. Some pretty convincing ones at that, lol. It wasn't until after high school that I began to read about the Sabbath, and then the old tales from my Irish and Scottish cousins across the pond of the different spirit peoples in the lonely places. They're not always happy little Tinkerbells, but sometimes malevolent spirits and giant spirits as well. But benevolent, neutral, or malevolent, all of them can be extremely dangerous. I only relate experiences that didn't have mitigating circumstances such as a few beers thrown into the mix or a rational explanation. Let's be honest, sometimes people can misunderstand what they experience under the best of conditions, especially at night. I know I have. Experiences: Long Island. Walking along one of the footpaths that I had blazed through my town property, I stopped at a low bush blueberry shrub and sat down to gather some. I'd walked some 3 steps further on when I heard what sounded like a dog scratching. Turned around and saw a large red fox under that bush, scritching her chin. She stopped, yawned, and then stared at me, totally calm-like. While I stood there with my mouth open, she stretched, got up, and slowly moved off. That fox was not there 3 seconds before. I would have seen her. As you know, Steve, fox are nocturnal, masters of stealth and skittish. It's rare to see one in the daytime in the high heat of day unless they are rabid or scared out of hiding. She appeared to be neither. Near to the same area, on an overcast, rainy, moody day in autumn, my favorite kind of conditions to solo hike, no one around, I was crossing a field of tall grass about 2 acres worth. I stopped to fix a bootlace. As I was crouched down, the voice of a woman said, "Well, hello there," right in my ear. Dude, I never shot to my feet that fast before. It was a lovely female voice and tone, but is also somehow mocking and mean. Steve, I've passed close by other people without being seen while hiking, but anything male, female, or whatever that can come up on your six that quickly and quietly across an open field is nothing to be trifled with. I got gone, brother. On the same property, in the middle of a very tall briar patch that covered a large area, 2 of my buds and I had used garden clippers to cut a low tunnel into it and make a clearing for overnighters. It was perfect, secure, totally hidden, and impossible to get into at night without getting tore up if you don't know the way. The very first time we tried to spend a night there, we had to leave. As soon as it was dark, we started to hear voices whispering. Hard as we tried, we couldn't explain it. It wasn't animal noises and there was no wind. It was voices, and they were close by, coming from the briars in all directions. We sat listening for maybe 30 minutes, trying to make sense of it before we got out. I've been back in the daytime to examine it, but not after dark. It appears to belong to others at that time. Catskill Mountains, Lanesville, New York, backpacked to the Diamond Notch lean-to with a friend. For 3 nights running, every time I lay down, something started rattling the gear that I had, right by my head. My candle lantern, mess kit, Tommy cooker, stove, sunglasses, etc. I kept jumping up with my mag light. It's got to be a mouse, right? No. There were no chinks in the back or side walls that I was against. A mouse would have had to crawl across me, and there was no time in between the incidents for it to go out and back. I always keep a clean camp, cookware cleaned up, food hung above the ground from the trees, some 50 feet or so away, and no food scraps left around. What's left to attract critters? That night, my bud says to me, "Hey, you're Irish. Why don't we leave a drink of whiskey out for the wood spirits? It'll leave you alone." So he gets out his travel flask and pours a shot in the cap. He walks around calling out into the dark that we were only there to admire the wilds, and just like them, we wouldn't ruin the area. We would appreciate it if they would leave us in peace and such. After he left the drink on a rock at the fire pit, we turned in. I wasn't bothered for the rest of the trip. What the F? Adirondack Mountains, Pottersville, New York. While visiting a friend in upstate New York in early summer, I got up one morning and decided to solo hike up to the top of the mountain that this property included a large pie slice of. It was very wooded. The trail is clearly marked but rocky. I made it up without a problem. Birds, June bugs, squirrels, and the like going about their business. A beautiful day. I sat down at an overlook to enjoy the view. I was only there for about 10 minutes when, just like has been reported over and over, it went silent, dead silent. Even the breeze had died. I've had similar happen before, like when you walk out onto a pond shore and all the frogs go silent, but not that quiet and not without that, oh shit, feeling rising in my chest. That was not the time for the old observe and analyze. I got out of there. The way back was not suited to run down because that would have meant busting a leg on the rocky trail. It would have meant getting stranded up there. It was a very long hike back out of there. Anderson County, upstate South Carolina. While solo hiking one morning, I got to bushwhacking off trail along a creek. Through a break in the underbrush, I saw a really cool grove of red cedars in the middle of all that deciduous forest some ways off. Thinking that I just had to check that out, I was about to start off when I suddenly got the feeling that maybe I shouldn't. As I stood there trying to decide whether or not to proceed, I heard what turned out to be the cracking of a fairly large branch from overhead. Steve, I shit you not, it fell in front of me and got caught up in the underbrush at about chest-high height, making an almost perfectly horizontal bar in my way, like the top rail of a wooden gate. I got the message, moved away. These are just a few of the unexplainable incidents I've experienced. I could send you more at another time if you or your subscribers care to hear them. So where is this all going? The similarities between tales of the Sabe and tales of the wee folk, both are thought to be spirit as well as physical. Both can suddenly appear or disappear at will. Both are territorial. You feel it when you've trespassed on their grounds, unless you're a dumb nuts. Both have a strong reaction to the presence of iron or steel, as with weapons. Both can appear as something other than themselves. Both can leave you dealing with a string of bad incidents long afterwards, like being cursed. You mess with them at your own hazard. Yet both of them can be appreciative of good manners. Leave when you're told to, explain that you're just passing through and mean no harm, that you won't spoil the area, that you will be a good steward of the resources in nature, and that you will leave them in peace. And yes, the tales of the spirit people tell of how they are agreeable to being offered a whiskey. Although I think that getting a Sabe drunk might not be such a good idea. I concur. The list of similarities go on and on. Steve, maybe what we're dealing with here are interdimensional beings. Physicists are beginning to come around to this possibility these days. Why all the creepy bullshit from our governments? Does anyone think that governments realized the existence of intelligences that were capable of interdimensional travel, that they wouldn't try to keep it a secret as to possibly harness the tech that would enable their spies, spooks, hired killers, and three-letter agency megalomaniacs to pop in and out of places? You can bet my pasty Irish American arse they would. They'd be capable of anything to do so. Steve, unexplainable things do happen in the wilds. The haters of the world need to get over it. If they're so certain of things, they should go into the woods for a week alone or shut the fuck up. There are more things under heaven and earth that are dreamed of in your philosophy, my dear Horatio Shakespeare. Feel free to use my handle if you like. People already know that I'm a bit strange, but I'm not a liar, nor am I stupid or crazy. Keep on rocking. All right, where's your name? Jimmy the Mike. Okay, Jimmy, thanks for that well-aware email, man. Appreciate it. And I agree with you 100% on all points made above. Although many won't. But it's okay. It's okay to disagree, all right? It's okay to disagree. It's okay to not accept some stories as fact. And it's okay to take from what you will, as long as we're all here in the same place together, right? As long as we're together. It's okay. It's when people start to try to control others, that's when it's not okay, right? Now, what else do we have? My Bigfoot story. Hello, sir. You can use my name. I'm Jacob Bracken. I was 14 at the time. I was on a hunting trip in September 2016. Every year, we go up to my uncle's cabin, pretty secluded in Wyoming, near Lake Viva Naughton, like 7 miles from his cabin. We hunt sage grouse. This particular year, I wanted to sleep in a tent about 50 yards up from the cabin. I have a spring bar tent. We got there around noon, set up the tent, and went back to the cabin for dinner and chit-chat. When bedtime came around 10 p.m., all felt normal. Crawled in my sleeping bag. Did not know what a rough night it was going to be. The rocks started flying in around 12:30. I remember looking at my watch, say 12:32, and they weren't rocks. They weren't rocks. They were huge. They shook the whole tent. I thought it was going to collapse on me. It stopped for a bit and then continued. I could hear tree branches snapping and everything else was quiet. No crickets, no nothing. But when it screamed, I was petrified. I lay there not being able to sleep or move all night, begging for it all to stop. It finally did stop. I didn't know the time. But after that, I didn't sleep the rest of the day. The next night, I moved into the cabin. To this day, I still have night terrors, but that'll never stop me from going hunting or enjoying the outdoors. Since then, I've encountered and actually seen 2 more, and dread going to where I've previously seen them. Thanks for encouraging me to share. I love your channel and bear stories. This is an elk this year at my uncle's cabin. It's a great trail camera picture, man. Pictures. Thanks, Jacob. Okay, man, you seen these things? Obviously, I'd be interested in hearing about those experiences you had too, as well as guaranteed tens of thousands of people that are listening to your story right now are going to be curious as to what you saw, right? And thanks for being brave and coming forward in public with what you saw, what you didn't ask to experience, but what you experienced, all right? It's very important that people share and stop being scared of each other, all right? It's people like you that are making this difference, okay? People like you. What else do we got? I know one thing we don't have is a fishing rod in my hands right now, and that's not good. Alright. Please fully read. Here comes a helicopter. Go figure. Sounds like it's gonna go right over top of my frickin' head. Holy shit, that's low. Crazy. I was like barely over the treetops back there. Anyway, whatever. Please fully read. Greetings from Vancouver, Canada. My story. Please read this all the way through. It's not what you'll expect. I do. You ask people possible answers to speak up, so we all may learn. That's all I want to do with this email, to share, and hopefully give people something to consider. This will be the first time outside of a few very close friends that I've shared this story, due to fear of judgment and ridicule. Well, you found the safe place now. You're all right here. My life since I was 3 or 4 years old has been very bizarre, mostly regarding dreams and spirituality. I could go into a whole mess of rambling regarding what I've seen throughout my life, but that's not why I'm here. I'm here because of a story you read not long ago involving a young man from Kentucky. He describes an encounter with an entity with white eyes, which had watched him from the bushes, stood up tall, then left without a trace. Hopefully you know which one I'm talking about. I've had 2 run-ins now with a similar creature and really want to share what I've learned. Excuse me. Both encounters have matching similarities, the lack of sound, as if the essence of sound is vacuumed from the surrounding area. You've gone deaf, yet you can hear yourself breathing, etc. Number 2, the inability to look away, as if your mind is in shock and disbelief, maybe even fear, where you're compelled to watch. And number 3, the height similarity of between 7 to 8.5 feet tall. My story starts with waking up from a regular night's sleep, no nightmares or anything. I woke up with my arm extended over my head to the point of my shoulder blade being off the pillow. I felt a grip around my forearm that was big enough to be an adult male, but it was so cold. It felt like it had been in a refrigerator, and felt like it had no skin/grip, like human skin. It was like being gripped by air, yet it had form and pressure. I startled once awake enough, and it quickly let go, as if realizing I'd woken up. The sound in the room was that same deafening silence your other viewer described, like a void, like going completely deaf, but you can hear yourself breathing. I literally jumped out of bed, freaked out, and didn't know what to do. I didn't see anything out of the ordinary, nor did I hear any movement besides my own. Out of fight or flight, my stupid brain had to go with the dumb choice, so I addressed it, saying out loud, "Coward, fix my ears, and go away, get out of my house." The sound returned. I didn't feel threatened. I never heard a response, so as soon as I could hear properly, I got dressed and ran to find my roommate downstairs to tell her what happened. But it wouldn't be the last time. Second encounter I had was just recently, August 29th, 2021. This time it started with a simple dream. Normally, people wake up from a bad dream and the images will take 10 to 15 minutes to go away. They usually fade from your mind. You forget them and just go about your day just thinking, that was effing weird. Life goes on, right? Well, I remember the whole thing, even now. It's burnt into my head. That's got to mean something, right? So this dream starts inside a small house. I'm standing in the living room, and I can see the front door is open with the screen door shut to keep the bugs out, like summertime. I see a blonde guy in a police uniform approach the door, then quickly leave. I remember being suspicious, so I followed outside to address him and asked what was wrong. He said he was here to see me for himself. Before I could question this, he pointed to the sky where the dusk had set in and the stars had come out. My vision is crap normally, so I wear glasses for distance. When I looked up at the sky, it was like watching my sight clear up before me to 2020 and more. I noticed planets. I thought they were the usual we could see from Earth. As if hearing my thoughts, he said, "No, those aren't much farther away. Too far for anyone here yet to discover." When I looked down again at him, I was frozen in shock at what I saw. He was no longer human looking. As if taking the risk, he revealed himself to me, perhaps. I remember being unable to speak, just in utter awe of what I was looking at. A 7 to 8 foot being, gunmetal gray, mild blue mix with long limbs, and a figure that resembled a starving Ethiopian. Gaunt looking and abnormal. It had 6 arms of equal length, 3 on each side, all coming out of where a human shoulder blade would sit. Clearly it had no internal organs because there clearly just wasn't room for it. On top of this weirdness, it had only half a head. From the bridge of the nose up was gone. Very strange. I call it a he now because the voice sounded masculine to me, but from what I saw, it was genderless and clearly had no sex whatsoever. I felt nervous, and something suppressed the fear, like I couldn't control the feelings I had in the moment. I finally asked why it was here in my dream that I clearly knew was now a dream. It told me, "We need more brave people like you. The world's going to change soon. These people will be forced to make decisions that will change the face of the planet. It will be a choice no one will be able to avoid." I'd wondered why it sounded so normal, so calm and neutral, human almost. Like the speech patterns were too normal. To which I was told, humans fear less when we sound like they do. We communicate better if there is familiarity. Being the geek that I am, I had to ask the typical question, "You're not from Area 51, are you?" To which he kind of chuckled at me and remarked, "They know of me, but cannot keep me contained. I go as I please, and it scares them that they lack control. I go back willingly, mostly to learn and study. We want to understand why your world contains tears in it." I didn't understand at first, then I thought about all the weird sightings and crap like Skinwalker Ranch in Utah, and he said, "Yes." Nothing else, just yes. To which I woke up, wide awake. Same deal, my arm was raised but not as high. The grip much more mild this time. It was not the deathly cold grip like last time, but that silence was there again. It let go the second I started to wake up, and now all I have is more friggin' questions. I pray to God someone believes this. Hopefully he will return to answer more questions, maybe share a name or tell me about his people. I'm writing constant questions down in WordPad to ask. Stock piling for the day I can get another visit. If I could pass anything on from this creature, I would say this. There's more than one already on the planet. They're smarter than any of us. The intention is not to harm us unless we do so first, and even then, we don't know how. They are dimensional beings, able to see the layers we cannot. They might seem scary, but they are just highly cautious of us and our destructive nature. And finally, they are the types to try to observe from a distance without disturbing us or coming in contact. These are all things I figured out on my own, purely from being in its presence and taking time to deeply reflect on it all. Be brave, everyone. Maybe they are due to become our future allies. Who knows? Crystal F. Whew. Well, there is a chunk for everybody to chew on. Crystal, the dream world brought to reality here on this channel, right? Now let's see how many people out there can relate to what you just shared publicly. How many have had a similar experience? Maybe even right down to the exact descriptive. You never know, right? I don't know. I haven't a clue. Would I like to find out? You're damn straight I would. Why not? Right? And there's only one way we find out. It's by speaking openly, sharing it, and seeing who else has got something similar, right? That's what we're doing. Anyway, that should be about ample for this share. I feel a little more relaxed. Although it doesn't take much to get pissed off when I think about what's going on and how to fix it. And let's hope that we all come together, stop the madness, prevent the irrational, irresponsible decision making, and turn it around and make things better together. Don't just sit there waiting for an order, right? Anyway, I'll be back again with more shares soon. Be safe.